Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. um, so, if you're watching this, if you may be, you're probably wondering what this is. And this is essentially what we call quarantine boredom. And if I'm posting this, I'm posting for your viewing. You've been locked up. You've watched every episode of Tiger King. You watched reruns of sports since there are no live sports anymore. You watch the totally weird, crazy, insane, makes no sense, but makes all the sense in the world WrestleMania the last two nights. You need new content. This is your new content. There's an idea that's been floating around for a little while about starting a podcast. So this is basically going to be a pilot episode of said podcast. Don't know that there will always be a video component to it. Maybe there will be, maybe there won't. Just to kind of give everybody, first of all, let me not be rude and hog it all. Let me introduce the two guys with me. One of my best friends since basically birth, and kind of the moderator of this format, Brian Bennett. Bennett, say hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
And the other person on the line, because nobody else answered their phone, would be.
I thought with that first intro, you were going to introduce me, right? It hurts.
First of all, I haven't known you since birth. My life was great up to a certain point. But Mr. Casey Elrod, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So here's the format of this podcast that's a random video that you're seeing now. The working title right now is called Convince Me. And essentially, there are going to be two opposing sides and a mediator, moderator, during every episode, covering a wide variety of topics. We can do pop culture, we can do sports, we can do pretty much any random comparison down through time, superheroes, although I don't know how well I'd be at that one. But you take two sides to an argument. Each person argues a side, mediator, moderator, man in the middle picks a winner. And in this pilot episode, we are going to discuss and argue, and I'm going to win the age-old argument of best 90s sitcom, Friends or Seinfeld. I will be arguing and winning on behalf of Friends. Mr. Elrod will be arguing and losing on behalf of Seinfeld. And Bennett will be our moderator for this show, podcast, whatever this may be. If I'm posting this, it means I want your feedback. So leave your feedback below. What you like, what you don't like, future topics you want to see. Should we keep a video format? Should we even make this podcast? Or is this the most stupid thing you've ever heard of in your life and we're wasting our time? If I post this and you're hearing this message, let us know in the comment, whichever it may be. So, Bennett, you got any opening remarks before we get into opening arguments?
Yeah, I think y'all picked like the perfect person to moderate this because, full disclosure, I've never seen a full episode of either one of these shows, believe it or not. I know of them and I know a little bit about them. I get the gist of it, but I have never watched either one of these shows.
Well, then you're the moderator.
So this will be, y'all got to convince me, and maybe I'll start watching one of these.
There you go. Now the winner gets something. Bennett watches the winning show.
No pressure.
All right.
Only when I come home because I'm an essential employee.
Hey, so am I. Corporate law, very essential. Elrod, you still working? Essential?
I'm still working.
There you go. All right, Bennett, who's going first on opening arguments?
Okay, I found right before we started recording this nice shiny dime here.
Fancy.
It's a 2017. Very nice.
That'll get you a quarter of a piece of toilet paper.
Hey, it's like gold. So we've got heads. and we got tails. Brett, you'll be heads. Everybody, you'll be tails. And we'll flip it. And the winner will have their choice to start or if they want to go second, basically.
Works for me.
Here we go. Tails.
Tails.
Oh.
I will let Mr. Elrod go first in opening arguments, and then I will let him go first in closing arguments as well.
Oh, that's just not fair, but okay. Bennett, there is only one show that is consistently voted number one of all time. It's not MASH. It's not Friends. It's Seinfeld. Now, I know this look that Mr. Rudd has on his face right now. He's very perplexed. Seinfeld is a story about all of us. The show is about nothing. The show is masterful. You don't have to watch one episode from season 1 to understand what's going on in season 7. It's perfect. It's completely perfect. And that's all you need to know.
Okay.
All right. To go off what Mr. Elrod said, you don't have to watch anything in season 1 to know anything about season 7 of Seinfeld because it means nothing. The entire show is literally a show about nothing. But we look at Friends, one of the most relatable television series to ever air. And both of you know, and if anybody's watching this probably knows, if something is my favorite, I'm going to argue it till the day I die. But any point I make in this argument won't be because it's a favorite, because Friends is not my favorite show. MASH is my favorite show, so I didn't appreciate that dig, first of all. Give me MASH. Give me Cheers. Give me Three's Company. Give me The Simpsons. There are a lot of shows that I like better than Friends, but every argument I'm going to make in this argument is not because of favoritism. It's because Friends is the better show. There's a plot. There's relatable characters. There's something we can all apply to our lives. Literally every episode is funny, something Seinfeld cannot say. And how do you have a TV show without a plot? Because Seinfeld is a show about nothing.
And that's what makes it so great.
Okay. All right. So I know every like iconic show has like a really catchy theme song. So y'all gotta tell me how these theme songs go, because I'm really not even sure I've heard these theme songs.
Who's first?
I first thought I was like Friends, and I was like, thank you for being a friend. I was like, that's not the right one. So I don't know. So
Can't see on the Golden Girls argument when that one happens.
Hey, maybe we might put Golden Girls in there as a wild card.
Here's all you need to know about the theme song, Bennett. Friends stole a theme song. Stole it. It was a I'll be there for you. I'm not going to sing on this thing. But
so he's singing the theme song for you.
Friends does not even have an original theme song. It doesn't. It was a ripoff of a 90s song. Seinfeld has its own song. There's no words to it, but it has its own distinct sound that when you hear that song on the television, you know Seinfeld's up. It's distinct. It's one of the most distinct soundtracks on a show of all time. Friends cannot say that because they ripped off a 90s song.
First of all, it's not ripping off. It's called licensing. Second of all, there has been one show ever that I can think of. I'm sure there's probably tons, but there's only one show I can think of ever that has an iconic theme song with no words to it, and that's MASH. The Seinfeld theme song sounds like a drunk hobo that found an out-of-tune guitar and decided to strum it a little bit. That's what the Seinfeld theme song sounds like. But the Friends theme song, regardless of whether it was recorded somewhere else, it's a licensed song. But much like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, much like Cheers, it's a song, Bennett, I'm sure you know it, even if you haven't watched the show. It's one of those iconic theme songs that you can sing or play the first line of the song and everybody knows what you're singing. See, no one told you life was gonna
Oh
be
gosh,
this
really
way.
big deal.
It's
If this
iconic.
was around the horn, there would be points deducted right now on that side of the screen.
It's not a drunk hobo with an out of tune guitar.
It's not a drunk hobo song. It's a distinct song that when you hear that sound, you're watching Seinfeld. And you can't say that about Friends.
So
Next
it's
topic.
basically a song about nothing.
About nothing.
I will give it that. It's fitting to the show.
So it goes with the theme.
It does.
Okay. Oh, I don't know about it. Okay. All right. Since you opened for that one, I'm gonna let Red open first on this one. What about some of these characters, the main characters? I don't know if there's some that have like opened up and then left over the years. I just want like the main people.
All right, you look. There's essentially 6 main characters in Friends, and they're cover nearly every stereotype. You could relate to every single one of them. You have the hot rich girl that's never had to work for anything. You've got the girl that used to be fat and then got skinny as she got older. You've got the kind of ditzy girl that you need in every classic sitcom that's kind of stupid. You've got the nerd guy, which Ross would totally be Elrod. You've got the funny, smart aleck kind of guy that I could personally relate to. And then you've got the stupid, good-looking actor guy. But I think the biggest comparison between Friends and Seinfeld in this area is the actors and actresses playing them. Look at Jerry Seinfeld was a known comedian before he ever started the show. Did his career go anywhere after Seinfeld? Not anywhere that it had been before. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she had somewhat of a career beforehand. She might have got a little bump. Let's be honest. Christmas Vacation is her best role she ever had, and that was years before Seinfeld. The bald guy that played George Costanza, what's his name? Jason Alexander. Jason Alexander, he was in a Brad Paisley video after.
That's a great music video. I'm just saying. Great.
Look at what Friends did for Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston is A-list celebrity in the world now, and it came from Friends. Look at Courtney Cox, who went on to star. She was in Ace Ventura, which should have won every award ever still to this day. She went on to be a staple in Elrod's favorite movie franchise of Scream. People and the cameos, I'll get into the cameos later, but the people that starred on the show were A-list celebrities. Don't get me wrong, Jerry Seinfeld is a huge celebrity, but Jerry Seinfeld was big before the show Seinfeld ever started. It didn't launch anybody. Friends took these characters, this cast, and launched them superstardom because it was a better show.
Well, so here's what you're going to have to realize. Jerry Seinfeld was not a household name before Seinfeld, but he was like, yeah, I kind of heard of him. Yeah. He became a superstar after Seinfeld. After his show ran its course in 98, he became the comedian in this country. Jason Alexander, here's the thing you have to realize about Seinfeld, is none of the characters are supermodels like Jennifer Aniston. They're me, they're you, they're Andy. They're just normal folks on the show. If you look at the people on Friends, look at them. They are not relatable. Look at them. They're supermodels. The people on Seinfeld are just random Joes, random schmoes. Much more relatable to Seinfeld characters.
And I'm sure you relate to Kramer, though.
I do.
Well, speaking of relatable, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how people can relate to these characters a little bit more. I think Elrod, you're up first.
So One of the characters on Seinfeld is Kramer. Kramer is the friend that's always in the mischief. He's the one that's always the jokester. Elaine is kind of like the girl that's friends with all the guys that it's fun to hang around. Jerry is kind of like the alpha male on the show. There's also some recurring characters like Newman, that is the larger guy that's always in the mischief too. George is always the one friend that always seems to, for whatever reason, find himself in a lot of trouble, sometimes of his own doing. Sometimes he just falls into it. So all of these characters on the show, they're not supermodel. They're not Jennifer Aniston level people like you see on Friends. They're just average people. And what makes Seinfeld so great, and I'll go back to what I said in the opening, none of the episodes relate because it's like a day in the life of these characters. So you don't have to necessarily watch a season to watch another season down the road. You can pretty much pick, there may be some new characters on the show, but you can understand within a couple minutes what's going on. So these characters are very relatable, and I think that they just relate much better than the characters on Friends, because it's like, it's what you, the characters on Friends are kind of like what you want your friends to be. Oh, they're good looking, or oh, they're Jennifer Aniston. Oh my gosh, it's not like that on Seinfeld.
Okay, I got you.
I tend to disagree. In all the seasons of Friends, there are situations that every single person, every single one of us, have found ourselves in. Moving into an apartment, losing our jobs, trying to make ends meet, trying to have children, not being able to, adoption, surrogacy. Not all of us have gone through all these things, but all of us have gone through some of these things. Being hopelessly in love with some chick that is 10 times out of your league. Exactly. But you've had a Jennifer Aniston in your life. You may not have gotten her like Ross did. I'll give you that. That was terrible writing. A guy like Ross should have never been with Rachel. But then you've got like Monica and Chandler, who were friends, hence the name of the show. But they end up falling in love. You've got all these different scenarios that play out. There's plot points, and they're all relatable. I had some in mind before whenever I was talking, and now my mind's going blank. But Seinfeld is, I'm a terrible attorney. Seinfeld is a show, I should have taken notes. Seinfeld is a show about nothing. Friends is a show about everything. And since it encompasses everything, there's something for everybody. There's something that you can relate to with one of these characters, one of these situations. You're not watching a bunch of boring people that aren't supermodels. That was another thing I meant to put in my opening. Sex appeal. Friends has Seinfeld killed on sex appeal for both the males and the females. But
that is not true.
But we're talking about TV show. Nobody is watching this conversation between us for sex appeal. But if there was some sex appeal amongst us three, there'd probably be a lot more people that watch it. Hence, making it better if there is some sex appeal. Obviously, there's not with us. We are the Seinfeld of conversations right now.
All right. I know you touched on this earlier. You talked about people making cameos. Let's kind of go into that a little bit. Talk about that some.
The late 1990s, early 2000s. Look at the people that were on Friends. Brad Pitt was on Friends. Bruce Willis, couldn't think of his name, was on Friends. Paul Rudd, one of his first roles was on Friends. Talk about people that got launched to superstardom. Tom Selleck, the sexiest mustache to ever exist on the planet Earth, was a regular on Friends. Jon Favreau was on Friends before he went to be king and almighty involved with the Marvel Universe and most recently the fantastic Mandalorian. You look at all these people that weren't regular members of the cast that basically made cameos. Reese Witherspoon. Oh, Reese Witherspoon was on Friends as Rachel's sister. I mean, as far as guest appearances, cameos, small roles, Friends has Seinfeld blown out of the water.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And here's why. There is no show in the 90s that launched more people into the mainstream as far as their first role in Seinfeld. Let's just look at some of the names. Bryan Cranston of Breaking Bad fame, Courtney Cox.
Sorry, this is your point.
Jon Favreau started out on Seinfeld.
He got
Denise
a better
Richards.
job.
Denise Richards, Sarah Silverman, Molly Shannon, Peter Krause, James Spader, Michael Chiklis, Patton Oswalt, Brad Garrett, Kathy Griffin. The list goes on and on. So if you look at the comedies that you have in the early 2000s, a lot of the drama shows that you see as well, these actors got their start on small roles on Seinfeld rather than Friends.
Look at those people you just named versus Brad Pitt, Bruce Willis, Reese Witherspoon, Paul Rudd.
But what I'm saying is those people were established actors that went on the show. Seinfeld wanted to bring these unknown quantities and bring them on the show and launch in the stardom. And these people were already established when they went on Friends. Jerry Seinfeld knew that when he started out, he was an unknown commodity. He wanted to bring the same thing that the comedians brought for him and give it to these people. He wanted to give them a chance.
Some of those people I haven't heard of. I'm the wrong person though. It's like, okay, like I've heard of those people, and then some of the names you were naming off, I don't know them, but I'm not exactly a pop culture connoisseur though. So like the average person like me that doesn't keep up with it, you know, your Brad Pitts, you know, and your whoever, Tom Selleck and all of that.
George Steinbrenner on Seinfeld.
All right, I know that one.
It was a fake George Steinbrenner, but
they couldn't even get the real one. Granted, Jerry Seinfeld probably refused to have the real one, if we're being honest.
Probably.
Noted Mets fan.
That's an interesting point. Why are you not more of a Seinfeld fan? Mr. Met himself, Jerry Seinfeld. I'm surprised you don't like.
This is not about being a fan. I told you, Friends is not in my top 5 favorite shows. It's what's the better show? Friends. I like Seinfeld's baseball taste. I like his comedy. I don't like his TV show.
All right. Tell me a little bit about how Seinfeld has kind of stood up to the test of time here.
Look at the syndication of Seinfeld. You could turn on the TV tonight to TBS and still find the show on there doing 2 episodes every single night. Seinfeld started out, I think, in 1989. And ever since 1989, there's always been 1 episode of Seinfeld on every single night. And that's, what is that? I'm not good with math, but what is that, like 30 years now? 31 years? It has truly stood the test of time. The episodes are still funny. The characters are still relatable. And a TV station like a network like Turner is not going to put a show on syndication for that long if it's not a good show.
First of all, for clarification, did Seinfeld come out in '89? Was it that early?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with this argument. I just didn't realize it was that old. To counterpoint your Turner argument, Friends is literally on Turner 8 episodes a day in the middle of the day now, which anybody watching Quarantine right now, Quarantine TV, have probably seen every episode without changing off of TBS. It's still on today. The internet nearly broke when Friends went to Netflix. The internet got furious when they found out Friends is coming off of Netflix. And when Jennifer Aniston posted on Instagram a few weeks ago and the subsequent news broke out that they're doing a Friends reunion show, the internet lost their freaking mind in the year 2020. This show's been off the air. When did Friends go off the air? 2003-ish?
Yes.
2004? So 17 years after the show has no longer been on the air, and people are losing their minds over the thought of a reunion. There are people much younger than me and Bennett, even younger than Elrod. There are teenagers today and early 20s people who absolutely love Friends, that the show went off the air when they were still in diapers. I think you don't hear of a lot of those young people that are just huge Seinfeld fans. Don't get me wrong, I guarantee there's some out there. But this obsession people have with Friends is still alive and well today in 2020.
I think a lot of the younger crowd, I think the fact that Friends is on Netflix, it's got a larger distribution, and the fact that it's more recent. I mean, Seinfeld went off the air in 98, I believe. So it's got 5 years in terms of going off the air. And the fact that it's distributed on Netflix rather than Hulu certainly helps Friends out for the younger generation. I think that's a reason the younger generation, they consume Friends more so than Seinfeld.
But hence Friends.
All right, I've got just like two or three. I got 2 or 3 little quick follow-up questions, and then I'll let you guys do y'all's closing arguments. Just out of curiosity, it doesn't really matter, but like, how many seasons did each of these shows have? Were they relatively the same, or did one kind of have like a great short run and one just like drag out for a long time? Or were they about the same?
If Seinfeld started in 89, it was definitely the longer run. I know Friends had 10 seasons. How many seasons did Seinfeld have?
From 89 to 98, so 9 seasons.
About the same then, I guess.
Yeah, 9 seasons, 24 episodes a season. I think the first season had less because it was a pilot season, but the other ones had 24 apiece.
Okay, what about, did one of these kind of trump the other as far as like nominations or awards or anything like that?
I believe Seinfeld might have won some comedy in terms of Emmys for comedy. I'm not quite sure what else it might have won.
I didn't do my research for this like I should have, but again, this is a pilot episode. Critically, Seinfeld has always gotten the nod. But do we always agree with critics?
Yes.
Critics hate Marvel movies. Look how much money Marvel movies have made. Seinfeld was what's one of the most prestigious slots for a sitcom in TV? Sunday after the Super Bowl. Friends, I don't even remember what year, but they had back-to-back episodes in the hour following the Super Bowl on NBC. Seinfeld did not get such a nod. So if we're looking at critics, critics always went Seinfeld. But as we all know, the general public doesn't always agree with critics.
Were these on like the same network?
Yes, Seinfeld was. Seinfeld was always on NBC from its start to its finish in '98.
As was Friends.
All right, I'm gonna start with you for this. This is my last question, and then I'll let you guys do y'all's closing argument. And I can't remember who got the coin toss. Who went first? Was it Elrod?
Elrod goes first. Yeah.
All right, so you'll go first on the closing argument. But before that, my last question, let's say, I'm not at work and I self-quarantine myself and I get on Netflix, Hulu, any of these on, and I'm like, oh, look, here's Seinfeld. Tell me in like 1 or 2 sentences why I should sit down and say, okay, I'm going to start watching these today as opposed to trying to find Friends and start watching it?
I'll let you start, right?
He asked you to start. You start.
Well, if any episode you watch of Seinfeld, you'll turn it on. It will be relatable. It'll be something that's happened in your life, but it will be insanely funny. So if you want to, we're going through a difficult time right now with this coronavirus. If you want to find something that shows real life, but in a funny way, watch Seinfeld. You won't regret it.
And you said that's like something I could just I don't even have to start at the beginning.
You can start.
Okay, I'm just going to start at season 4, just random episode.
You could actually start at the finale with Seinfeld and be insanely funny if you watch the two-part finale. You could pick up, not even have watched a single episode before.
All right. Brett, what do you think?
Why you would watch Friends over Seinfeld if you're going to binge watch? For the sake of this argument, I have poo-pooed Seinfeld. Don't get me wrong, Seinfeld's a good show. Friends is better. Here's my biggest gripe about Seinfeld, and it's something I love about Friends, and it's the reason you would sit down to watch Friends over Seinfeld. You wouldn't need to watch them in order, which if you're starting a show, it makes sense to watch from the beginning on. But one of the biggest things with Friends, obviously there's an argument with me and Elrod on relatability, but it's consistency. There is something funny in every single episode of Friends. Some obviously are more funny than others, but through the whole storyline, through the whole story arc of 10 seasons, from season 1, episode 1 to the very last episode of season 10, it's consistently funny. Whereas Seinfeld, if you pick a random episode, it's going to be hit or miss. There are some episodes of Seinfeld that are insanely hilarious. There are also episodes of Seinfeld that there's really not anything funny in it. Maybe if you have a certain sense of humor, but there's a lot of it that doesn't register with me. And for the sake of arguing to you, Bennett, you and me are very similar on what we find funny. And Seinfeld's hit or miss. There are episodes of Seinfeld that are absolutely hilarious, but there are some episodes of Seinfeld that are not funny at all. And since you don't need to watch the rest of them to stay consistent because it's a show about nothing and they don't matter, if you're just watching a random episode, it's going to be hit or miss on whether it's funny. And if you're sitting down to watch something funny, you want to make sure it's funny.
Yeah, I do like consistency and kind of knowing what I'm getting into.
I would say there's always a funny aspect to every Seinfeld show. I've not watched an episode of Seinfeld and haven't really laughed at a situation or a part.
There have been a couple episodes that I have not found any humor at all. There have been some where I laughed the entire episode. But I think it lacks a consistency factor. With me, obviously this is my personal opinion, but I know Bennett's humor.
That's true. All right, gentlemen, I think it's about the time to hit those closing arguments. Elrod, start us off here.
Seinfeld is not the flashiest show you've ever watched. And it may not be the funniest show you'll ever watch. It won't have supermodels. It won't have young-looking people, supermodel-looking guys, girls. It won't have any of that. But you won't find a show that's the total package like Seinfeld. The level of comedy, the comedic geniuses that are on the show, Jerry Seinfeld, Jason Alexander, Julia Dreyfus. You won't see a show on any platform, even coming out today, that has the total package like Seinfeld does. It's a show that stood the test of time from the 80s. It's a show that's still in syndication today. It's a show that you can go on Hulu right now and watch every single season. Friends is a good show, but it is not on the same stratosphere in terms of comedy, in terms of the situations a character finds themselves in. It is the total package show, and it always will be. Hopefully, they'll come out with another season. That would break every record of all time if NBC had one more season. And here's another thing I'll say. Toward the end of Friends, the ratings were going down. It was going down. Seinfeld was Michael Jordan. It went out on top. It was number one in 98. Jerry Seinfeld said, you know what? I've had enough. I want to go out on top. I don't want to be a show that stays past its welcome. It's another reason I feel kind of robbed that we didn't have more seasons of Seinfeld. It went out on top. And that, my friend, is a reason it's better than Friends.
Friends has everything you want in a TV show. Are the people in it better looking than the people on Seinfeld? Absolutely. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a great, funny woman. She is nothing compared to Jennifer Aniston, at least in the looks category. If I want to see normal people, I'll go to Walmart. If I'm sitting to watch a TV show to be entertained, I want to see Jennifer Aniston. I want to see Courtney Cox. If I'm a lady, I want to see Matt LeBlanc. I want to fall in love with a smart aleck like Chandler. I can't think of his name. Matthew Perry. If I want regular, I'll go to Walmart. If I want good-looking people, I'll watch a TV show. That's what we're looking for in a TV show. We're looking for comedy. It's got it. We're looking for consistency. It's got it. We're looking for relatableness. No matter who you are, what your background is, what your lifestyle is, there is some part of Friends that you can relate to. So there's easy to watch, consistent, it's relatable. What are some of the, let's look at some of the best TV shows that nobody can argue of all time. Cheers. What's one of the things that Cheers did that has given us something to, even to today? It gave us Woody Harrelson. It made a star. Friends gave us the level of Jennifer Aniston, of Courtney Cox in the early 2000s, not so much in 2020. But for the few years after that, all these categories we've looked at that we want in a great TV show, Friends has. Seinfeld, while a great show, I do not mean to disparage the good name of Seinfeld, doesn't check the boxes. And if we're treating this like two attorneys arguing in a courtroom session, we're looking at the elements. We want to check all the elements off. Friends checks all the boxes.
All right. First off, like some stuff from both of you guys. We see it. I saw it right.
I did too.
Oh, it's backwards on my screen. Sweet.
Wow.
I did that while I was giving it close an argument.
So, mistrial, I win.
Okay, so just listening to you guys talk for the last 40 minutes here, I think both of these shows would definitely be worth my time. I don't get to watch a lot of TV, but if I ever do get quarantined or they let me stay home for any time at all, I'm definitely going to at least sit down and give both of these at least a try. It might be an episode, it might be a season, or I might make it through the whole thing. I don't know, but I'm at least going to give both of these a try. That being said, how I scored this. Theme song, while both of them are iconic, I actually do know both of these now that you refresh my memory. I'm going to go with Seinfeld on the theme song, only because it's uniqueness, because the song is nothing and the show is like nothing, so I could relate those two together. So 1 point for Elrod. Moving on to the characters, I'm going to go with Friends on the characters. I think they've got a lot more star power. I can definitely, that's on down the road. I can definitely also kind of see like how a lot of these people that started out on this show, how it kind of propelled their careers. And I did know some of the people that you mentioned, but some of them I didn't. So I'm like, okay, it seems like some of these people that, although they may have been successful, they weren't as successful. I was like, oh yeah, man, I've heard of that person, you know. But that's just me. I'm not a very big movie or TV connoisseur. Moving on to how people in general relate to these shows, I went with Friends because it's like Rhett said, you know, you have, you know, the situations about moving in, like you said, moving into an apartment or something that may have happened. I feel like this is stuff you're like, okay, yeah, I can relate to that. And you said something too about how Elrod, I know you said something about how, you know, they all are like um, beautiful people, or you're like, oh, you don't want to see it. I think people do because they kind of live vicariously through these people on TV, you know, because these people are like everything that you want to be. And you're like, okay, well, I can relate to this guy because he is like everything that I wished I could be. Or this guy, like you said, this guy got this girl that's way out of his league, you know, maybe I can do the same, you know, stuff like that. So I kind of went with that. So I gave Rhett the point there. So I gave Rhett 2 points and Elrod 1 point. Moving on to special guests. I also went with Friends on the special guest also. Honestly, I cannot remember all of them that you went through, but I checked it off, so there must have been more that I liked on Friends than Seinfeld. So that puts Rudd at 3 and Elrod at 1. On the test of time, I couldn't pick because I think both of them are so iconic and influential, and what they've done for television, you know, can't really be repeated. And there's been a lot of stuff that's been inspired by both of these. So I called that one a wash. So no point on either one. On the follow-up, Elrod made some really good points. Rutt made some really good points. But I gave it to Elrod for the follow-up. Yeah, I know. I did. I gave it to Elrod. I like some of the stuff that he said, especially about how the one thing that got me was how it's more syndicated, I guess, was one of the things. It wasn't a huge thing, and the number of seasons wasn't a huge part of it too. But what really got it was, for me personally, now I might be like in the minority, and I'm sure I am, but for me, just to like sit down and turn on the TV and say, oh, there's an episode of Seinfeld on. I don't have to commit to the other 4 or 5 seasons that have been on and be like, okay, so this has already happened, so now we're here. I feel like I could just pick it up and just be like, okay, I've seen one episode of episode 2 or season 2, and maybe like an episode from 4, and now I'm on 7. And I can still kind of put everything together, and I feel like it's not like I don't have to commit to all the other seasons to know. So it's a little bit more like, I guess I kind of took it as more chill. Like I could just flip it on and maybe I'm watching it. Maybe I'm on eBay looking at stuff, or on Facebook, and I've got everything going on, and I don't have to sit there and just totally commit to the television show. That's kind of what I do now with my shows. So just for that, I gave it to Elrod. But when you add all that together and put in y'all's closing arguments, I gave my closing argument to Rhett.
Woo, baby.
Oh,
It was close though. I mean, like I said, both of you guys
Yeah, that
made
should
some
have been
really,
a sweep.
really, really good points. And it's nothing against Seinfeld. I'm definitely going to give both of these a shot because I feel like I know a lot more about them now than I did. I just kind of thought both of them were kind of like, you know, I haven't really gave them any thought or time. So
Well,
you guys have educated me tonight.
I still disagree because it should have been a clean sweep. But
doesn't matter. Judge has spoken.
yeah, he has. Yeah, he has.
Appealing. I'm appealing this
All right.
injustice that's been put on the court. Injustice.
So, just to put a bow on this, if you're watching this, did you enjoy this? We thought this would go 10 minutes. It went a little longer. But again, it's thought of a podcast. That's still the thought. We could keep a video element to it, do both audio and video. What do you think? If you're watching this, what do you think? Did you like it? Do you not necessarily care for the topic, but you love the concept? Because like I said, there's so many different ways we can go with this. We can argue pop culture. We can argue sports. Pretty much, we can argue music, pretty much anything, because me and Casey Elrod down here agree on absolutely nothing. So we could argue anything. We will switch the roles out depending on the subject. I'll moderate some, Elrod will moderate some, Bennett will argue some. Just depends on the topic. But what do you think? Do you like it? Are we wasting our time? Is this the dumbest thing you've ever sat through? If you thought it was the dumbest thing, I assume you're not still watching at this point. But let us know. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you have a topic idea? Do you want to see us do more? Was this quality quarantine content that's not Carol freaking Baskins feeding her husband to the tigers?
That did happen.
Do what? Well, did she kill him? Was he under the septic tank? Pick one.
Stop giving away spoilers.
You find that out in like episode 2. It's not that big of a spoiler, but anyway, let us know what you think. Bennett, Elrod, thanks for jumping on with me on a Monday night.
Thanks for having us.
You guys have any parting words?
Well, maybe next time I'll win.
Maybe.
Probably not, but maybe. All right, guys. I'm going, not you two. You two hang on the line. But for anybody that may be watching, I'm going to turn off this recording. Let us know what you think. I'm assuming down there in the comments, past the big head that's right there. And appreciate you guys tuning in. Let us know what you think. Peace.